Stats are the stats.
But that's not, it doesn't say I'm white, I voted for Donald Trump because of racism.
That's not
what
that.
What stat are you talking about?
You can't dissect the
Yes,
two.
you can.
The View has been at the center of a lot of criticism and backlash, especially ever since the election. Sonny Hostin and Alyssa been getting to it, and Alyssa hasn't been backing down at all. I mean, we just recently seen Sonny Hostin read the legal note online, and she looked as dejected as ever. Now, I mean, it's warranted, right? You can see that the woman had several meltdowns, but that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about the fact that Alyssa Griffin has literally dismantled all of Sonny Hostin's race baiting, gender claims. It's always these leftist ideology stuff that she loves to push. But Alyssa Griffin has not backed down. We're going to jump into a few clips, but before we do that, man, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. We appreciate y'all helping us grow our platform. Before we get to these other clips, I want to show you guys this clip of Alyssa Griffin literally tearing her behind apart. And it's regarding Latino votes and why Latino men came out 55% and voted for Trump. Let's get into it.
And finally, we talk a lot about these different demographics and these assumptions of where they're going to go. Latinos in Texas, a district that's 97% Latino, went 75 percentage points for Donald Trump. Why?
Misogyny.
It's on the border. The border crisis is on their doorstep.
So
and they were begging people to care about it for years. We need to take some lessons.
That's what that was.
The lessons are not.
Knock. Who's there?
How her train of thought led her to misogyny is crazy. Now, I live in a border state. I can tell you why 75% of Mexican voters or Hispanic voters in Texas voted in favor of Trump, because regardless of race or gender, fentanyl is a serious problem here in these border states. Do you not read the headlines of children in middle schools and elementaries and high schools overdosing because of this blue pill? Do we not have an epidemic here? So for her to say misogyny, I don't know where she got that from, but I get it. It's that leftist ideology. What does misogyny have to do with wanting to protect our children, wanting to protect our environment? Imagine raising children where a drug that is unforgiving, that is unbeknownst to humans, like this is not people, okay, crack and all of these other drugs where it was introduced into society was nowhere as severe as fentanyl. You mean to tell me a little less than a size of a rice can literally unalive someone? It can delete someone? Yeah. And for her to say misogyny, it's crazy. But I mean, again, you can see why she received so much backlash and criticism. But this next clip is even crazier. Check it out.
It's not true. This is by education. Those who attended college voted for her at a higher degree than those that didn't.
But I think
I've said that. Let me just finish. And so I've said that before, and there was so much backlash because I think it's an uncomfortable, inconvenient truth about this country.
But his whole point is they didn't vote for him because of racism and misogyny. They voted for him because they felt like, I think the biggest common denominator in this election is people want a good life and ability to provide for their family.
Well,
whether we agree or not with Donald Trump's plans,
Black people
they thought that he was reflective.
One of the poorest demographics in this country, but they voted for Kamala Harris.
But there was a split, and more of them voted for Donald Trump than had historically. I think that there's such a desire. If you really think the vast majority of this country voted because of racism and misogyny, you're missing it. Most of my family, a lot of my family doesn't have college degrees.
But the stats are the stats.
But that's not, it doesn't say I'm white, I voted for Donald Trump because of racism. That's not what stat. What stat are you talking about?
You can't dissect the two.
Yes, you can. There's a lot.
Now, she said that these white women were uneducated because they voted for Trump. Now, I'm not going to speak on abortion and anything that has to do with women's rights and whatnot, but I'll speak on the fact that Trump has spoke to so many other reasons why average Americans could vote for Trump. No tax on overtime, no tax on tips, getting fentanyl off the streets. What does that have to do with them being uneducated? What does Latino men having to vote for Trump have to do with them being uneducated? Imagine having to work hard and work overtime so you can pay for your weekly bills. And even the 40-hour work week isn't enough. So you got to work more hours, and then the money that you're working more for is getting taxed. And it's supposed to be 1.5. Overtime is supposed to be an hour, 1.5 of your paycheck or whatever it is, right? Hourly. And then that's being taxed. Trump says no to that. No tax on tips. Imagine being a service worker like myself. All of your tips are taxed. So a lot of these things are dope for Trump to want to do for the average American. And for her to just jump to racism and uneducation is crazy. But it gets even worse. Check this clip out. Like, I can't make it up.
America needs a free press that is willing to speak truth to power right now, more than ever. And I think that we have to be very clear-eyed when we think about the president-elect and cover the president-elect. And I don't think you need to sit down for 90 minutes at Mar-a-Lago and kiss his ring to be able to speak truth and to be able to cover a story. So maybe they're not journalists in the true sense. Maybe they're saying that they're opinion journalists. But we have to remember that Trump is the guy who ushered in the era of fake news. He is the guy who ushered in alternative facts. I think that this president-elect, I hate to say it, would like nothing more than to have only Fox News cover him, would like nothing more than a state-sponsored media. And I don't think he can be trusted in the way that other presidents can be trusted. This is an aberration.
But the reality is he doesn't just have Fox News. He didn't do a lot of mainstream media this election, but he went on Joe Rogan and reached 50 million people. Yeah. None of us could talk to Donald Trump again. No mainstream legacy media could. And he's still going to reach the vast majority of this country. So I actually think extremely highly of both Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski. I don't think this is opportunistic. I don't think that this is a judgment on their character. I think they recognize 75 million people voted for this guy. He will be in power short of something, an impeachment for the next 4 years. So where can we make some changes on the market?
MSNBC Morning Joe hosts, Joe and Mika, obviously they were tearing up Trump. They were anti-Trump. They went on the anti-Trump campaign, smutted his name up. And especially near this most recent election, they were going crazy, doing everything they can to smut the name up. Trump, orange man bad, orange man bad. We've all heard it before, right? And as of recently, with all of our hard work, we got the right man back in the right seat, right? Back in the right position. So they went out to Mar-a-Lago and they did the right thing. They spoke bad about Trump. They realized like maybe they were misinformed and they went to Mar-a-Lago and they wanted to build a working relationship with the sitting president, which is a logical thing to do. And for her to say that they went up there to kiss the ring and they're not being honest or intent, like for you to double down on ignorance it speaks out. It speaks volumes. It shows why anytime you type her name, there's all of these headlines, the legal note, and looking very dejected and regret just written all over your face. It speaks to when you make takes and statements like that, right? Now, this next clip, it gets even crazier because she's talking about appointed attorney general that has not yet been voted in yet by the Senate, but he's been appointed by Trump. And she made some wild sex claims about him. And then the very next stream had to read this legal note online. And if you just look at her body language, her facial, like it's just tough. Let's get into the clip.
How could you nominate someone with allegations of child trafficking across state lines and having sex with a 17-year-old? My understanding further on in the interview, they discussed the fact that once he finds out that she's 17, he stops having sex with her.
Sonny, you have a legal note.
I do have a legal note. Thank you, Whoopi. Matt Gaetz has long denied all allegations, calling the claims, quote, invented, and saying in a statement to ABC News that this false smear following a 3-year criminal investigation should be viewed with great skepticism. That DOJ investigation was closed with no charges being brought.
If you made it to the end of the video, we appreciate you. Kindly hit that like button, that subscribe button. It just helps the content and the platform grow. We'll catch you on the next one.